Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And I'm Scott Nichols.
Are you real? Are you authentic? Or are you a poser? Somebody who pretends to be something that you really are not.
I mean, I think I'm real.
Okay. I mean, physically, yes, you are real. You're not a creation of my imagination. You are not an AI or artificial intelligent generated individual. All right. So, yes, you are real.
Sure.
But
I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that about myself, though.
well, if not you, then who?
I mean, probably anybody else. I mean, I can usually tell when somebody's not being real.
Okay.
Right. And so I don't know if they know that they're not being real.
Okay. Well, here's something there's a theorist out there. Well, he's now gone, but he was popular. His ideas came out in the 60s. He was very popular in the 70s and 80s. But his name is Carl Rogers. Mm-hmm. And he came up with person-centered therapy. And one of the issues that he talked about that created a level of unhappiness or distress in a person is when their authentic self and their presented self were far apart.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that there is the personality that we show everybody, our public persona. And then there is the real us.
Yeah.
And what his argument was, and I find that there is a healthy dose of truth to this, how far apart or how aligned are your public self and your true authentic self?
I mean, I think for me now, at least in life, they're pretty closely aligned. I don't feel like I'm portraying anything in public that I don't, that is not real in private, or portray anything in private that I don't show in public.
Okay.
Now, that might be to my detriment.
Okay. No, well, yeah. Then see, here's the thing. What Rogers shared, and it was a centerpiece of his theory on mental health, is that the closer your presented self and your authentic self are, the happier and more content you will be. Mm-hmm. The farther apart they are, the more unhappiness in your life there will be, because they're not connecting. You're pretending. You're acting in essence. Mm-hmm. You're acting. You're playing a role. All right. Scott Nichols is a role that you play because you don't want people to know the real Scott Nichols. This is who I think people really want to see.
Right.
And I see this a lot in young people that we taught. Mm-hmm. I see this even in a lot of my clients, in the idea that, well, they feel that they have to be this or present that. And if people really knew the real me, well, you wouldn't like me.
Well, I do think that the world pushes that on us to some extent, right? You have to be this way. You have to do these things. You have to become successful. There's things that I think the world pushes on us to make us think that, we have to be certain kinds of people and portrayed in a certain way. But
well, and you're not wrong. Because how many times do we see promotions, productivity, achievements, and milestones posted everywhere on a person's social media page? I mean, think about what we talk about when we are, talking with other people about our children, all right? Or when we're talking about our success in career. I mean, isn't that how we measure progress in ourselves and in others?
I mean, I think that the fact that you mentioned social media is interesting, because I think that social media goes two ways. Either the account that you're looking at, the person that you're looking at on social media, is completely a fake, in that it is just absolutely ridiculously positive, and this is how it's, everything is just rosy sunshine wonderfulness. Well, or they're really portraying their real self that they don't necessarily show anywhere other than social media, and you can tell what kind of a bleep they are.
Okay. Well, I mean, I even look at the people that we've worked with.
Yeah.
And I would imagine, I mean, even though we only worked together for 4 years,
Yeah.
we had a lot of folks we worked with in common. And how many of them were authentic and how many of them were fake?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not.
Well,
gonna put a
okay,
number on
rephrase that.
But yes,
And
there's always some, right?
In our work environment, wherever we work, whenever we have worked in a job, or even in our neighbors, how many times do we run across people that are authentic, and how many times do we run across people who are, well, they just seem fake?
Yeah, I mean, it's often, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody's hiding something.
Yes. And so that's why I thought in today's episode, I thought we might explore what it means to choose authenticity over performance.
Okay.
If you're okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay. And part of what attracted me to this topic, I co-host a Tuesday night support group, and we, over the last few weeks, number of people that have been on, we talk about the idea of authenticity, being an authentic person. And I started to think back to my previous marriage. And in that, both Eric's mom and I really do believe we were performing.
Okay.
We were pretending to be something we were not. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe in that. In this role that we were playing, contributed to a lot of our unhappiness. We weren't being true to ourselves. What is that in Shakespeare? To thine own self be true. Mm-hmm. We weren't being true to ourselves. And so we were looking for validation in the wrong ways. And I think part of it is with this pressure, okay, again, how do we measure a person's success in life?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know how I measure it for me, but
okay. But is your way of?
I don't think you can project that onto other people, right? Some people might have values that are similar and determine success in life the same way that I do, and others may not.
Okay, fair enough. But yours is based on a different perspective based on your age and experience with life. But if we go back 20 years, all right, we go back to the Scott Nichols of 20 years ago.
Yeah.
All right. Did you have the same measure of a person's success as you do today?
No, probably not.
Okay. Would you argue that your idea of measuring a person's success 20 years ago is probably more in line with how a large percentage of our American society measures success?
Back then?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's my point. And I think that it's how we observe a person's success contributes to this idea that we got to be something we are not, that we have to perform. I put that in air quotes.
Right.
Because how much of our society views our success by our climbing the ladder, by having a nice big house, by having fancy cars, by, having stuff.
Of course, right? That's the American dream, right? So, I mean, that's what was drilled into us in our generation,
Sure.
To have those things means success, and then you get to pass some of that on generationally.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I no longer believe that. I certainly wouldn't mind having some of those things, but I don't think that that's a measure of success. I can't take any of that stuff with me. So I don't know that all of it really matters.
Sure. But if we take, and I know if I look at the Rod McCall from 20 years ago, I was looking at my success by, a little bit by how much money I made, by what did I possess. Right. I had a nice home. I had a job. I had I just got into teaching, so sadly I wasn't making a whole lot of money, but I was making steps in the right direction. I had gotten married. I was having a kid. Yep. I was becoming an adult. I was doing the adult things. And I began to say, you know what? I'm measuring my worth.
Right.
And in that, I felt I began to move away from authentic Rod to perception Rod.
Okay.
And I will admit, I was not being true to myself. And in that process, I created a gap between the Rod McCall that other people saw and the one that was truly me.
Right.
And so, and that created a lot of unhappiness within myself. And so that's kind of my whole point, is starting out with the idea of how do we measure ourselves and our success, and how many times do folks, people you and I know, look at our success by what you can, by your size of your bank account, by the things that you own and possess.
Right.
And I think that creates then that problem that too many people face.
Yeah.
And that is not being true to ourselves, not being our authentic self. So, I don't know, thoughts, comments, opinions?
I mean, I'm just looking to hear more. What else? Where else are we going with this?
Okay, well, so how do we, first of all, is that the person you want to be? Do you want to be the person you pretend to be, or do you want to be the person you were meant to be?
No, of course I want to be the person I was meant to be, but I don't, what is the person I was meant to be?
Okay. Well, here's what I kind of have learned a little bit of the hard way. And part of that begins to do what is right for you. Okay. Look for job opportunities that allow you to be you. I will say that I love being a school teacher.
Yeah.
And I loved being able to be me as that. When I was, my first job was at a Catholic school, and that was fun, but I was teaching middle school and I enjoyed it, but I don't know, I had to be more of an entertainer for middle school kids. When I moved to high school, that was a little more enjoyable. Kids were a little bit older.
And you were still an entertainer.
Okay, yeah. Then when I landed at the school that you and I worked at,
right,
I really enjoyed it because now I'm teaching seniors. Now I'm teaching kids just as they become adults. And by this time, I had gone through my divorce and I was post-divorce. And I really began to move away from my pretend self and becoming more my authentic self.
Right.
And I think that by doing so allowed me to be an even more effective educator. I turned down, and that's kind of what they're saying, is turn down, opportunities that don't fit. I could have, a lot of people said, well, Rod, you're going to move back to Kansas. And I'm going, no, I don't want to move to Kansas. Yes, that's where I'm from. That's where I was born and raised, but I love Texas.
Yeah.
And, my folks wanted me to come and live with them in Arkansas to reset. And I'm going, I don't want to go to Arkansas.
Right.
Even though it is now one of the top 10 places that people move to, I didn't want to go there. And so I wanted to stick with opportunities that fit more me.
Right. And I do think that's important. I have gone through careers, right? I've done IT. I've done some various kind of odd careers, including commercial driving. I've done, teaching now. And teaching is the best thing that I've done. It's the thing that I think that I fit the most with. I really enjoy it. As far as being an educator, I know that I'm looking to move further into administration, but that's still in the school and it's still with the kids. And I think I can make an impact there. So I just think that, finding that thing for you is important, and it shouldn't matter how long. In fact, I think there's some statistics out there, and I'm not going to quote them or find them, but I have seen them before that suggest that, most people don't just get a job and then stick with that career for their entire life. That's not a thing anymore, usually. Right. Most people don't do that. They do move around. They do kind of figure things out. And we know that when kids go to college, they start out with a major, and probably by the time they graduate, they've changed that major 2 or 3 times.
Yeah,
because they find like that's part of college, right? Is finding the place that you fit.
Okay. How about this? To back you up, I looked up a little bit. I did. 69% of all U.S. professionals have changed or considered changing their career fields in just the past year.
Yeah,
all right.
That's a lot.
And about 1/3 of Americans between ages 25 and 44 have completely switched their fields from their first post-college job.
Yeah. And why? Because when you go to leave, when you consider the situation you're in, you get stressed out about your job. We've talked about that. Mm-hmm. And so you're stressed out and you're thinking, oh, is it the people? Is it the boss? Is it, the work? Is it the whatever? Is it the money? Right. Mm-hmm. And so most people will think that they're moving for the money. They're not. They're moving because of other reasons, right? Money isn't usually the thing that causes people to move. It's because you don't like what you're doing.
Yeah.
Or you don't like the people you're doing it with. And so you switch because of that. And if you keep switching and keep finding that, all those people are always the same and I still don't like them, maybe it's because you're just in the wrong place. Mm-hmm. And so you find another thing to do. And I think that's an important realization to make and then act on.
And that's kind of the whole point. Being more authentic to who you are means that you have the courage to make changes. And that growth requires sometimes making a change. And simply letting go of a goal or a career path doesn't mean your failure. It just means evolution. You're changing in the right direction.
It's really just an adjustment. If I'm trying to drive to, Vancouver in Canada and I change my mind, right? Because Vancouver is not for me. So I'm going to go to San Diego. Mm-hmm. I just adjusted my goal. It's not as major of a change as we think it is. It's just, but you're going to be happier, right? I don't like cold and rain and snow, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't want to go up there.
No.
So San Diego's got beautiful temperatures, right?
Yeah.
And beautiful weather all year long.
Uh-huh.
And so that would be much preferable to me, although I'm still a Florida person, despite living in Texas.
So here's something to ask yourself. All right. If you're trying to figure out, well, am I being authentic or am I pretending? Ask yourself this. All right. When I wake up in the morning, do I feel like I'm filled with energy or do I feel like I have dread? Do I have time for the people that I love? And does my daily life align with my values?
No, I think that's huge. Mm-hmm. In the end, you're the one living your life, and you shouldn't have to live it for other people. Mm-hmm. Although, I do believe in, serving others and my wife, my kids, my friends. I still think that that's a huge part of what life is because we're relational. But ultimately, if you get up in the morning and you absolutely hate what you do, then find something else to do.
Thank you. And that's kind of the whole point.
Because you're not helping anybody.
Well, yes. In fact, you may be doing more harm than good, because here's the thing. When you are making the choices that you are making, are they fitting your values or are they fitting the applause you want?
Right.
Because if you're going after applause, then you're not being authentic to who you really are.
So my own thing about finding this for me, right? And as I have worked on, projecting myself and putting myself in a position of leadership and trying to attain a new position, right? Is asking myself 3 questions. Like first, you're writing a resume, you're addressing who are you? Right. Yeah. Sort of that mirror thing that you always talk about. Like, look at who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you as a person? What are your values? Those kinds of things. Because that often drives everything else. It should anyway.
Yes.
And so once I can answer who I am, then what do I do? What's the thing that I do in life? To earn money, to whatever, fulfill myself. And so, but then ask myself, why do I do that?
Yes.
Is that really the thing that I want to do? Mm-hmm. Why am I doing it? If I'm just doing it for money, that's probably not fulfilling me in the same way that something else might. And in fact, I might be able to find the thing that I really want to do and make even more money and have the happiness go along with it. Lots of people do that.
I mean, it's one of those things, and I would tell this to my students all the time. If you chase money, you'll always be broke and you'll always be exhausted.
Sure.
Because you can never catch the money. And I know this from my own experience because that's what I did. I chased the money.
Right.
And I could never have enough. And so why? Because I felt that, well, that's how people would show, or I could show people that I was a success. That's how I could get that applause. And when I realized, wait a minute, I'm chasing an illusion, a mirage in the sand or desert, then and it's amazing. When I stopped chasing money, I found I was a lot happier and I actually had real physical wealth.
Yeah, that is interesting, right? That when the money stops being such a big deal, you discover you have way more than you thought you had. But riches throughout all of history, right, and all the wisdom and writings, religious and otherwise, I mean, riches has always been an issue for people. They want it and it never fulfills.
No.
And you can see it now, right? Like you can go out and look on social media. We know who the rich people are. And, their lives are always spilled out into the open and they're a mess. And you know that those people can't actually be happy with that. Like the money doesn't just fix those problems. It doesn't fix your emotions. It doesn't fix those things. And so, yeah, I just don't think money is the driver, right? The driver is more, what do you do? Who are you? What do you do? And why do you do it? And if I can answer those things and realize in that last one, I do it for a reason other than money and because I love it. That's different, right? What would they say? Whoever they are, right?
Yeah.
What do they say? They say that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Totally correct. And to keep building off of that, the idea of the super wealthy, if money truly bought happiness, the reason why they're not being, you see their unhappy life spilling out is because of this tension between the self that they are projecting to the world and their true authentic self.
Right.
They are not in cohesion together, but are in conflict.
Right.
And so that here's the thing too. We all have inside of us our little voice, our inner critic. All right. And maybe we need to listen to ourselves. Listen to this inner critic. All right. Ask ourselves.
Oh man, I got to listen to myself.
Well, you might be listening to a smart person. Who knows? All right.
Maybe.
Exactly. But as you ask yourself this, all right, if you're hearing criticism or you're worried about, what you're going to do, as you want to move from this to be more authentic, to be more true to who you really are.
Right.
Ask yourself, what if I am making a mistake? What if I'm just afraid? What if others are right and I'm wrong?
Sure.
I mean, because now these can absolutely create self-doubt, all right, but can they also lead us to be more to who we truly are, our authentic self?
Yeah.
And
I think so.
I mean, because instead of collecting stuff, let's take a look at what are our standards, because I truly do believe that our standards shape our self-worth because they're tied into our values and our ideas of right and wrong and acting on those values. Because I don't know, and something that I ask myself is, whose standard am I using?
Sure.
Am I using my standard of success or am I using someone else's? Am I using my standard of right and wrong or am I using someone else's? And it's another way to phrase that is, whose standard am I measuring myself against right now?
Yeah. Look, if you want to have control over your life to any extent, you have to be authentic. You have to be true to yourself. You have to know who you are and what you want to do.
Okay.
I mean, I just think that that's true. I don't think that you can, if you don't know those things, then you're always under the influence of somebody else.
Exactly.
And somebody else will control your life.
Yeah. And who wants that? I mean, that's why we rebel against our parents when we're teenagers. You can't control my life. You can't tell me what to do.
And I just consider that as like living in circumstances, right? Like you're just letting circumstances drive your life rather than taking ownership and saying, I'm going to go find that thing.
Living life by default rather than life by design.
Right.
No, I agree with you. And, it is tough to be true to yourself. All right. Because one, people might criticize you. But you got to be willing to live with that discomfort because, by golly, I'm going to do what's right by me rather than what's right by you.
See, but I think if you know who you are, then when people criticize you, you can evaluate it and say, is that true?
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So I mean, I've experienced this throughout school or teaching. Maybe a kid calls another kid an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are you?
Okay,
Are
yeah.
you? No, I'm not an idiot. Okay, well then let's let that go, right? I mean, we don't want to name call kids or have kids name call, but like, don't own it. If that's not you, don't own it.
Yeah.
Don't take that in. Don't let it define you. And just be like, that was wrong, right? People are wrong. They can have criticism.
Yes.
They're wrong, right? Like, I mean, except when I'm driving down the road and I criticize the other drivers, clearly they're wrong and I'm the best driver on earth.
Exactly.
But we know that's not actually true, right? They're actually going the speed limit and I'm, frustrated.
Because I want to go faster. No, I gotcha.
But I'm judging them on that. And that's what that comes down to, is that there's criticism that can be effective because it's true and I can accept it. And then there's criticism that's wrong and it's really just judgment and I just need to let it go.
And that,
because it doesn't align with me.
exactly. And that's kind of how we can combat these folks who are trying to challenge our authenticity to be our authentic self. And I would say, build yourself a support system of people who have similar values to you.
Right.
And in doing so, you get that validation that is more authentic rather than superficial. And so, I don't know. Like I say, it is tough. It is tough to choose authenticity over performance.
Yes, it is.
But when we can be to thine own self, be true. I can say from personal experience, I'm happier.
Yes.
I'm more content. I'm more at peace. I have less stress. I have less worry. I have fewer problems.
Which is amazing, isn't it?
It is.
Because that's not what you would have expected.
No. And what's interesting too is that other people can see you are authentic.
Yeah.
I take ownership for my mistakes. I said, you know what? That's me. I own it. I made that mistake. I am sorry, because now when I do these kinds of things, when I take ownership of my mistakes, when other people call me out for stuff and I didn't do it, more folks are going to believe that, well, Rod didn't do that because he admits his mistakes. He owns it. And he takes the consequences of those mistakes. I mean, the last time I got pulled over, the last 3 times I got pulled over, what did I do? I pulled over, I rolled down my windows, and I waited, and I told the police officer I was kind, I was friendly, I was not argumentative. I was not combative, and I wasn't pissed.
Exactly.
Why? Because you know what? I knew what I was doing was wrong. I knew I was speeding.
Yeah.
And I got caught, and I'm going to own it, and I'm going to take that punishment.
Yeah.
And it was a hefty fine.
That's amazing.
So anyway, like I say, it is tough. It is tough to be who you are, who you're meant to be. But being true and being authentic builds self-trust. And when you can trust yourself and your own decisions, and you're no longer chasing somebody else's definition of success, wow.
Yeah.
How awesome are you?
I mean, hopefully awesome. Hopefully very awesome, right? But it's so true, right? Like, if you're just doing the things that you believe you are set out to do and the things that you believe, and it aligns with everything about who you are, so much happiness and so much less stress comes from that.
Your morals, your values, live up to them. We need more of this. We need more authenticity in our society. And if we're going to go back to something we talked about before with the circle of control, what can we control? What can we not? I can't control what other people do. I can only control what I do. So I'm going to control me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be authentic.
All right. I don't know that we can say more about that.
We could, but we'd probably be beating a dead horse. So let's be authentic and say, go out there, be true to yourself.
Yes.
And until next time, I'm Rod.
I'm Scott.
See ya.
Bye-bye.